This video is about the single mom went to the night market and a millionaire sat beside her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The air was thick with the scent of grilled meats, fried dough, and sweet caramelized treats. The vibrant colors of the night market dazzled under strings of twinkling lights, casting playful shadows among the throngs of people. Mai felt a rush of excitement mixed with apprehension as she navigated through the bustling crowd. As a single mother, she rarely had time to indulge in simple pleasures. This was a rare night. Grabbing a handful of change from her coat pocket, she glanced down at her phone, checking the time. Her daughter, Lily, was happily tucked into bed at her grandmother's house, a rare sleepover that Maya had insisted on. Just a few hours, she murmured to herself, taking a deep breath as she approached a stall selling sizzling skewers. "Can I get two, please?" she said, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of laughter and chatter. The stall owner nodded, flashing her a warm smile. She felt her tension start to wane as she accepted the steaming skewers, the first flavor of freedom dancing on her tongue. As she turned to find a spot to enjoy her meal, her eyes caught the glimpse of a figure seated at a small table beside her. He was well dressed, with a tailored blazer that hinted at his wealth, yet he appeared relaxed, fingers intertwined as he leaned back in his chair. Dark hair fell over his forehead, and he had a presence that was magnetic, daring her to approach, even if she was unsure why. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her heart racing slightly. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face, quickly replaced by a charming smile. "Not at all. I'd be honored to share the table with such interesting company." His voice was smooth, with an undertone that made her stomach flutter, everything about him seeming both inviting and intimidating. "Interesting. I am just a tired mom out for a late-night snack," Maya replied softly, taking the seat across from him. She was conscious of how plain she felt in comparison to him. "Single mom?" he asked, leaning a bit forward, genuine curiosity in his piercing blue eyes. She nodded, unable to suppress a small smile. "Yeah, my daughter is about 6. Tonight she's at her grandmother's, so you decided to treat yourself," he interjected, his tone teasing. "Something like that," she said, her cheeks warming. "What about you? Business meeting that went awry?" He chuckled, softening the air between them. "Something like that. I came for the food, but it seems I've found something much more intriguing." Mai chuckled, feeling a mix of flattery and skepticism. "Careful, you might just offend the skewers." "I'd never," he said, lifting one of the sticks from her plate and taking a bite. "These are amazing, but tell me more about you. What is your favorite thing about being a mom?" She took a moment, reflecting. "The little moment, like when Lily giggles in her sleep or when she asks me where babies come from. It is a mix of chaos and magic." Her voice softened as she spoke, realizing how much she cherished those memories. "Sounds like you're doing a great job," he replied, genuine admiration in his gaze. "I can tell she is lucky to have you." For a fleeting second, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, there was something deeper in his eyes. But then her reality crashed down like a wave. A millionaire? A man like him could have anyone. Why would he be interested in a struggling single mom? "So, what is your name?" she asked, trying to steer the conversation back to safer waters. "Evan," he replied, a hint of warmth in his smile. "And you, Maya." "Nice to meet you, Evan," she said, her insides tingling at the way he said her name. "So, what do you do for a living, besides charming single mothers at night markets, I mean?" He laughed, a low, rich sound that sent a pleasant shiver down her spine. "I run a tech company. It is more than a full-time job, but I love it." "Tech, huh? I am going to guess you're the kind of guy who can fix a computer with a single glance," she replied, trying to keep the conversation light. "Only if it is misbehaving. I am more of a creative mind than a handyman, I'll admit." He rested his elbows on the table, watching her with an intensity that made her heart race. "And you, what do you do?" "I am a freelance graphic designer," she said, pride seeping into her voice. "Juggling work and motherhood can be tough, but it is rewarding." Evan nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "I can imagine. You must have quite the talent to keep everything balanced." "Let us just say I am learning as I go," she chuckled, though the weight of doubt lingered in her mind. "I am no expert." His gaze softened. "You are doing better than you think, Maya. I can tell you are dedicated." For a moment, they simply looked at each other, and a swell of unspoken words hung in the air. Mai felt the tension build as his fingers brushed against hers while reaching for his drink. She pulled back instinctively, her heart racing. "Sorry," he said, the corners of his lips turning up. "Didn't he mean to invade your space?" It is okay, she whispered, her voice barely above breath. The chemistry simmered between them, a palpable force that made her heart beat faster. Maya shifted in her seat, battling her thoughts. What was she doing? She had no business flirting with a man like him. She was a mother first, and that priority loomed over her like a shadow. Yet sitting there, sharing a moment with Evan, felt intoxicating. Do you come here often? Evan asked, breaking the silence. Not really, this is a rare outing for me, she admitted. I usually spend my evenings working or with Lily. I guess I just wanted a taste of normalcy. I get that, he nodded. I had a similar upbringing, and it's easy to lose the fun in life when you're busy. Yeah, the fun can feel like it is on hold, she said, her thumb brushing against the edge of the table, an unconscious gesture of her nervousness. But moments like these remind me to breathe. He leaned closer, a spark igniting between them. You deserve more moments like this, Maya. Life is too short to be all work and no play. The intensity of his gaze made her pulse quicken. Maybe I should take your advice. Why not? He challenged, a playful lilt in his voice. Let loose a little, you never know who you might meet. Myra's heart raced at the suggestion, the implication lingering in the air. What if this was one of those moments? But just as quickly as the thought formed, self-doubt crept in. Would he ever want to see her again? Would he consider her worthy of his time? And what if I am not the kind of person you do want to see again? She asked, her voice thick with uncertainty. Evan paused, his expression serious. You underestimate yourself, Maya. You re-intriguing, witty, and genuine. I do love to see you again. She searched his eyes, looking for signs of insincerity, but all she found was warmth. Really? Absolutely, he said, the corners of his mouth lifting into a genuine smile. Myra's heart fluttered, both hopeful and apprehensive. A world of possibilities opened up before her, yet she could feel the weight of her reality crashing down like a tidal wave. How could she entertain the idea of more when she had a daughter to think of? Let us not get ahead of ourselves, she said, forcing a lightness into her tone. I am just a mom who enjoys skewers. But you also, Maya, he replied, his gaze unwavering. A woman worth knowing, don't you sell yourself short? As he spoke, the world around them faded, leaving only the pulsing chemistry between them in the crowded market. For the first time in a long while, Maya felt seen not just as a mother, but as a woman deserving of love and connection. Maybe you rewrite, she whispered, a soft smile breaking through the uncertainty. Let us make tonight a start then, he said, his voice low and inviting. Okay, she replied, her heart thudding in her chest. Let us see where this night takes us. And with that, the night stretched out before them, a canvas waiting to be painted with the vibrant colors of possibility and connection. The vibrant chaos of the night market buzzed around them, a symphony of laughter, sizzling food, and the distant sounds of street performers. As Maya sat across from Evan, she couldn't shake the lingering tension in the air, an electric current that made her pulse race. So, what are your guilty pleasures? He asked, leaning back slightly, his gaze never leaving hers. Maya blinked, caught off guard. Guilty pleasures, she repeated. Well, besides indulging in late-night snacks. Evan chuckled, a rich sound that sent a pleasant shiver down her spine. Yes, besides the skewers, I mean, there must be some hidden passions beneath that sensible exterior. She considered his question, her cheeks warming under his playful gaze. I suppose I enjoy binge-watching reality TV. It is a guilty escape into chaos just like my life. Reality TV? I never have pictured you as a fan, he teased, a playful glint in his eyes. Care to share a favorite? Let us just say I am a sucker for anything involving food competitions, she replied, laughing. It makes my own cooking seem less daunting. Ah, so you've got culinary aspirations, he quipped. Are you secretly a master chef in disguise? Not even close, she said, shaking her head with mock seriousness. I leave the cooking to my mom, who conveniently lies nearby. Evan nodded, a flicker of understanding in his expression. Family support is important, especially when you're rejuggling everything. Yeah, it is a lifeline sometimes, she admitted, her tone softening. And I cherish it, but there are days when I feel overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by being a superhero, he asked, his voice slow and teasing. I can relate. Maya smirked, but she could sense something deeper in his words. You must have your own burdens to bear, being a millionaire and all. His smile faded slightly, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath his confident exterior. You'd be surprised, money can solve everything. They shared a moment of silence, both contemplating the weight of their respective realities. It was a rare moment of honesty between two strangers, one that stirred an intimacy Maya hadn't expected. So, What do you do for fun when you read not charming single mothers? She asked, trying to lighten the mood again. He laughed, the tension easing. I like to explore, hiking, discovering new places, anything that lets me disconnect from work. I've learned that balance is essential. I get that, Maya replied, her voice thoughtful. Sometimes I just want to escape the routine and feel alive. Why wait? He proposed, leaning in closer, the intensity of his gaze sending warmth through her. We could explore together. Just think of the stories we do have. Was he serious? The thought sent a thrill down her spine, but doubt quickly crept back in. That could be complicated, she murmured, her heart sinking at the thought. What has complicated about two adults enjoying life? He asked, his expression earnest. Maya hesitated. Life isn't always that simple. I have responsibilities. My daughter comes first. Evan nodded, his gaze softening. I respect that, but you deserve moments for yourself too. Moments like this, she added, a hint of flirtation in her tone. Exactly, he said, his smile returning. Tonight is a reminder that life can be more than just the day-to-day grind. As the words hung in the air, Maya felt a push and pull within herself. She was afraid of what pursuing this connection could mean. You're right, she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But it is hard to let go of the worries. Worries are normal, but don't let them define you, he encouraged, his eyes locking onto hers. Easier said than done, she said, a hint of incredulity lacing her tone. Perhaps, but worth trying, he insisted, his voice low and sincere. Life is too short to only live in your head. Maya felt a warm flush creeping up her neck, feeling seen in a way that had been absent for too long. What if I fail? Then we laugh about it and try again. How is that for a plan? She smiled, his playful attitude disarming her doubt, and for a moment she let herself imagine a life where she could take chances. Okay, let us say I took that leap. Where would we go? Anywhere, beach, mountains, or even a cozy cafe, he suggested, unyielding in his enthusiasm. Sounds nice, she said, feeling a flutter of excitement. But I still worry about the logistics. I get it, he responded, a hint of seriousness returning. But it's always about choices, Maya. You choose your path. As he spoke, she felt the warmth of his proximity wash over her. You make it sound so easy. It can be, he said softly, the tension between them crackling anew. But only if you allow it. Maya took a deep breath, her heart pounding. Could she allow it? The thought lingered in the back of her mind even as she tried to focus on the moment. Okay, I am in, she said, surprising herself with the resolve in her voice. Let us see where this night takes us. Evan's eyes sparkled with delight, and suddenly the world outside their bubble faded further away. That's the spirit. They resumed their banter, sharing more about their lives, but as the night progressed, the chemistry simmered just below the surface. Each laugh, each shared glance felt charged with unspoken possibilities, and Maya could hardly keep her breathing steady. At one point, Evan leaned closer, his arm brushing against hers, igniting a wave of warmth that made her stomach flip. You're quite captivating, you know? Her breath caught. Captivating? Yes, he replied, his voice slow and sincere. You have this light about you. It is magnetic. Maya's cheeks burned as she looked down, trying to mask her fluster. I think you were just being kind. Not at all, he insisted, his intensity unwavering. I mean it. She met his gaze, feeling the weight of his words settle around them. I didn't expect this tonight. Neither did I, but sometimes the unexpected is what we need, he said, a slight smile playing on his lips. Just then, a commotion erupted nearby, laughter and shouts ringing through the air. A street performer had begun to juggle flaming torches, drawing the crowd's attention. Let us check it out, Evan exclaimed, rising from his seat and extending a hand towards her. Maya hesitated, a flicker of worry creeping back in. What if it gets too crowded? Then we'll navigate it together, he promised, his eyes shining with mischief. Taking his hand, she felt a jolt of warmth surge through her. All right, lead the way. As they moved through the crowd, his grip on her hand felt reassuring. He guided her to a spot with a perfect view of the performer, their bodies close, the scent of grilled fruit mingling with the summer night air. The performer's antics, spinning and flipping, drew cheers from the crowd, and Maya found herself laughing, the worries of the world slipping away. That's it. Evan cheered, his enthusiasm infectious. This is what life is about. The happiness radiating from him was overwhelming, and in that moment she realized how much she craved this someone to share spontaneous joy with. Yeah, it is, she admitted, her heart swelling with an unfamiliar happiness. As the performance came to an end, Maya turned to find Evan watching her, a soft smile on his lips. "You have a beautiful laugh." "Thank you," she said, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I need to make sure it happens more often." "Let us make that a priority," he replied, his tone serious but playful. For a moment, they simply stood there, gazing at each other as the world rushed by. The intimacy of the moment sent a thrill through her, and Maya couldn't help but wonder where this connection could lead. "Let us get something sweet," Evan suggested, breaking the spell. "It is a night for indulgence after all." Maya laughed, her heart lifting once more. "Lead the way, Millionaire." As they strolled through the stalls, the air thick with the scent of sugary treats and laughter, Maya felt the swirl of uncertainty mixed with excitement. Maybe, just maybe, this night was the start of something new, something she hadn't dared to hope for until now. Though fear lingered at the edges of her thoughts, the exhilarating thrill of possibility and connection kept pulling her forward, hand in hand with Evan, into the night. They strolled through the night market, the vibrant stalls bursting with colors and tempting aromas surrounding them like a dream. Maya could hardly believe she was here, hand in hand with a man like Evan, experiencing a rare moment of joy. "Do you have a sweet tooth?" Evan asked, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Absolutely," she replied, her stomach rumbling at the thought of warm, sugary treats. "But I should probably pace myself, I don't want to regret it later." Evan chuckled, the sound low and inviting. "Regret is overrated. We should indulge a little. Life is too short for moderation." "You sound like a man who enjoys his desserts," she teased, feeling lighter with every shared laugh. "Guilty as charged. A dessert enthusiast, if you will," he said, his voice smooth like honey. "What is your favorite?" "Anything chocolate," Maya replied, a grin spreading across her face. "Especially if it is paired with something tart, chocolate and raspberry heaven." "Now I am hungry," he said, his gaze shimmering with playfulness. "But you were right, chocolate is a classic. Let us find you some." As they wandered, Maya couldn't shake the feeling of warmth radiating from their hands clasped together. It was an innocent gesture, but there was something so intimate about the way Evan's fingers wrapped around hers. "Okay, over there," Evan pointed to a stall adorned with glowing fairy lights showcasing an array of pastries. "What do you think?" Maya's heart raced at the sight of a chocolate tart glistening under the lights, its surface glossy and tempting. "That one," she said, her voice rising with excitement. "2 chocolate tarts, please." Evan called to the vendor, his confidence disarming. As they waited, Maya caught Evan glancing at her with an intensity that sent her pulse racing. "What?" she asked, trying to mask her shyness. "Just admiring," he said, his tone softening. "You have this glow about you, it is refreshing." She looked down, a rush of warmth flooding her cheeks. "You were just being nice." "No, really, there is something captivating about you, how you light up when you talk about what you love." Maya's heart flipped, the sincerity in his voice making her fiercely aware of the connection they were forging. "I am just a single mom," she said, a tone tinged with insecurity. He shook his head, his expression earnest. "You are more than that, Maya. You are a whole person with dreams and passions." She felt a swell of gratitude at his words, but doubt lingered like a shadow. "I just don't know if I can be more. I have responsibilities." "I get it," he replied, his voice slow and understanding. "But what about living a little? You deserve to explore more than just your day-to-day." "Exploring sounds great, but reality is waiting at home," she said, her heart tugging at the thought of Lily. "I can't abandon that." "You are not abandoning anything," he countered, his gaze steady. "You are taking a moment for yourself. That's not selfish." Maya opened her mouth to argue but found no words. There was an undeniable truth in what he said, yet fear loomed like a cloud over her heart. "Your tart," the vendor exclaimed, handing Evan 2 small boxes. "Thank you," Evan replied, turning back to Maya with a bright smile. "Let us find a place to enjoy these." "Good idea," she said, trying to shake off the weight of her worries. They settled onto a low bench, the energy of the market thrumming around them. Maya took a bite of her tart, the rich chocolate melting in her mouth, and she couldn't suppress a moan of delight. Evan raised an eyebrow, a teasing smirk on his lips. "That good, huh?" "Absolutely," she said, grinning at him. "You have excellent taste." "Not just in dessert," he replied, leaning closer, the space between them dwindling, "but in company." Maya's heart raced, their chemistry crackling in the air like fireflies dancing in the dusk. She felt the urge to lean into him, to taste the sweet closeness they shared, but the fear of crossing boundaries tugged at her. "Evan," she said hesitantly, her voice barely above a whisper. "What happens when the night ends?" His expression shifted, a flash of uncertainty flickering across his face. What do you mean? I mean this is also wonderful, but reality is waiting, she said, her heart pounding. I have Lily. I have to think about her. Evan nodded slowly, his eyes thoughtful. I understand, but can't we enjoy tonight without worrying about what comes next? Easier said than done, she replied, biting her lip. I am not used to moments like this. He reached out, his fingers brushing against her hand, sending a jolt through her. You deserve to enjoy this, Maya, just as much as anyone else. She took a deep breath, fighting against the swell of emotions inside. You make it sound so tempting. Because it is, he said softly. Don't let fear hold you back. Life is meant to be lived, not just survived. Maya looked into his eyes, feeling the warmth of his sincerity wash over her. I want to live, but I also want to be a good mom. You can do both, he said firmly, his gaze steady. You can be there for Lily and still have your moments of joy. But what if I fail? She replied, her voice trembling slightly. Then you get back up and try again, he encouraged. We all stumble, but we learn to rise. His words struck a chord deep within her. How do you know all this? Life experiences, he shrugged, his expression thoughtful. I've had my own share of challenges that teaches you resilience. I felt a flicker of admiration for him. There was depth beneath his confident exterior, and that vulnerability was magnetic. What about you? Is there a moment in your life that taught you to take chances? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Evan paused, his eyes becoming distant. Actually, yes, I lost someone dear to me a few years ago. It made me realize how fleeting life can be. I am sorry, she said softly, her heart aching for him. That sounds incredibly hard. It was, he admitted, his voice low. But it taught me to treasure the moments I do have, to take risks, to embrace life. Maya felt a swell of emotion, a shared understanding forming between them. I admire that, she whispered. Thank you, he said gently, his gaze holding hers. And I admire your strength, Maya. You were doing an incredible job. The sincerity in his eyes made her heart flutter. I am just trying to do my best. Your best is remarkable, he replied, his voice steady. And you are more than just a mom. There is so much potential in you. Her breath caught at his words, a wave of hope and possibility flooding through her. You really believe that? Absolutely, he said, leaning closer, the space between them charged with unspoken tension. And I'd love to be part of your story. Maya's heart raced, the thought both thrilling and terrifying. What does that mean? It means I'd like to get to know you better, beyond this night, he explained, his voice sincere. And if you were open to it, perhaps we could explore what this connection could become. She felt a rush of warmth at his words, but uncertainty loomed. But how do we navigate that? I have responsibilities. Together, he said, his expression earnest. If we are both willing to try, we can figure it out. Maya's heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Could she really take that leap? I don't want to disappoint you. Then don't make promises you can keep, he replied gently. Let us just enjoy tonight and see where it leads. As he spoke, she felt her walls begin to crumble, the fear slowly giving way to excitement. Okay, she said finally, her voice steady. Let us see where this night takes us. Evan's smile was infectious, and as they leaned closer, the world around them faded away. In that moment, Maya felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a possibility of joy, of connection, of more. The night was still young, and as they shared more laughs, stories, and warmth, she allowed herself to dream, to hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something extraordinary. The night stretched on, every moment infused with a vibrant energy that Maya had almost forgotten existed. Evan's laughter rang out like music, intertwining with the bustling sounds of the night market, an orchestra of life unfolding around them. As they strolled, Evan led her to a stall decorated with delicate paper lanterns, each glowing softly like the stars above. The vendor was showcasing handmade jewelry shimmering in a warm light. What do you think? He asked, gesturing toward a delicate silver bracelet adorned with small charms. It's beautiful, Maya said, her eyes widening at the shimmering pieces. Ivy always loved handcrafted jewelry. Evan picked up the bracelet, his fingers brushing against hers as he handed it to her. I think it would look stunning on you. Maya felt her cheeks flush at the compliment. I am not sure I can pull it off. Trust me, he insisted, his voice low and steady. You have a natural elegance. Now you are just flattering me, she said, pretending to roll her eyes but unable to hide her smile. Maybe just a little, he replied, his playful grin making her heart race. But I mean it, Maya, you carry yourself with grace. She turned her gaze back to the bracelet, considering. It was a simple piece, yet it felt significant, like a tangible reminder of this night. And for the first time in a long while, a voice inside her whispered that maybe, just maybe, she was worthy of such things. Okay, I'll try it on, she said, holding it up as though it were a precious treasure. As she clasped it around her wrist, Evan leaned in closer, his breath warm against her skin. Perfect fit, he murmured, his eyes sparkling with approval. Mai felt a shiver run down her spine at his proximity, the air thick with unspoken words. "You re good at this," she teased, trying to mask the sudden vulnerability that flooded her. "I just call it an instinct," he said, stepping back, but his gaze lingered on her, filled with an intensity that made her heart race. Suddenly, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd nearby, snapping Maya out of her thoughts. A group of people was gathered around a stand where a performer was twisting balloons into elaborate shapes. "Let us go watch," Evan exclaimed, excitement lighting up his features. "Okay," she replied, unable to hold back her laughter as he grabbed her hand again, guiding her through the throng of people. The performer, a quirky man with a bright yellow hat, was creating balloon animals at lightning speed. Mai found herself entranced, her worries fading as she watched the joy on the faces of children surrounding them. "Do you want one?" Evan asked, laughter dancing in his eyes. "A balloon animal?" she asked, arching an eyebrow playfully. "Why not? You're a kid at heart, right?" he countered, a teasing smile on his lips. "Okay, fine. I'll have a giraffe," she laughed. "A giraffe it is," Evan called out, waving his hand at the performer. As the balloon twisted into shape, Mai felt a lightness in her chest, an unfamiliar sensation that made the burdens of motherhood seem distant. "This is fun," she admitted, the smile on her face genuine. Evan turned to her, his eyes sparkling in the market lights. "You look happy." "I am," she replied, her heart swelling with warmth. "This night it has been amazing." As the performer handed her the balloon giraffe, she felt a rush of childlike joy. "Look," she beamed, holding it up triumphantly. Evan grinned, his gaze softening. "You've just brought your joy to life, Maya." In that moment, she allowed herself to lean into the connection they were forging. The laughter, the shared moments, it was intoxicating. But doubt still lingered at the edges of her mind, threatening to pull her back into reality. "Okay, enough balloon animals," she said playfully, breaking the spell. "Let us find something more substantial to eat." "Agreed," he replied, still chuckling as he led her toward a stall selling grilled meats. The aroma wafted through the air, making her stomach rumble again. As they waited in line, Evan turned to her, his expression shifting. "What is the hardest part about being a single mom?" Mai hesitated, the weight of her thoughts pressing down. "Sometimes it feels isolating," she admitted quietly. "I love Lily more than anything, but there are days when I miss companionship." Evan nodded thoughtfully, his eyes serious. "That makes sense. It is a big responsibility, and it can be lonely." "Yeah," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just worry about bringing someone into her life. It feels complicated." "It is," he said, his tone gentle. "But so is life. It is okay to want more for yourself." She looked at him, feeling a swell of gratitude. "You make it sound easy." "It is not always easy," he replied, his gaze steady. "But it is worth pursuing." As they picked their food and sat down at a nearby table, the conversation drifted to lighter topics: favorite movies, childhood memories, and embarrassing moments. The laughter flowed easily, each shared story deepening the connection between them. "Okay, worst date story?" Evan challenged, leaning forward with a mischievous grin. "Are you serious?" She laughed, feeling a rush of warmth at his eagerness. "Let us see, there was this one time I went out with a guy who spent the entire evening talking about his ex." "No," he exclaimed, genuinely shocked. "Yeah, it was mortifying," she said, a mix of disbelief and amusement coloring her tone. "I was just sitting there, trying to think of a way to escape." "Did you?" he asked, his eyes wide with anticipation. "I faked a phone call," she admitted, laughing. "I had to get out of there." Evan threw back his head and laughed heartily, the sound brightening her spirits even further. "That is a classic move." "And what about you?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "What is your worst date story?" He rubbed the back of his neck, a sheepish smile creeping onto his face. "Okay, there was this one time I took a girl to a fancy restaurant, but I accidentally ordered the most expensive thing on the menu." "No," she gasped, her eyes wide. "What happened?" "I spent the entire meal sweating bullets, thinking about how I'd explain it to my accountant," he chuckled. "Needless to say, it didn't go anywhere." Mai shook her head, laughter spilling out. "That is priceless." Right? The worst part was that she didn't even notice how stressed I was, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. As they continued to share stories, Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. In Evan's presence, she could be herself, free from the judgments and expectations that often clung to her. But the laughter began to wane as she considered the reality of their connection. The spark between them was undeniable, yet she couldn't shake the fear that her responsibilities as a mother would overshadow any potential relationship. Evan, she started, her voice hesitant. What happens when this night ends? Where do we go from here? He paused, his expression thoughtful as he considered her words. I don't know, he admitted finally. But I would like to find out. I believe in possibilities. Maya looked down, battling the emotions swirling within her. What if we read just two ships passing in the night? She murmured. Maybe, he replied, his tone gentle. Or maybe we were meant to connect in a way that changes our paths. She met his gaze, her heart racing at the sincerity in his eyes. I want to believe that, but you were scared, he finished for her, his voice low and steady. Yeah, she admitted, feeling vulnerable. I don't want to disappoint you, Lily. We both worth the risk, don't you think? He asked softly, his gaze unwavering. Maya felt a flicker of hope, a thread of possibility weaving through her doubts. I want to explore this, she said, her voice steady. But I need to take it slow. Slow is good, he replied, a reassuring smile breaking over his face. Let us just enjoy the moments we have. She smiled back, feeling lighter. Okay, let us do that. As they finished their meal, the tension between them simmered just below the surface, electric and palpable. Each shared glance, each touch, ignited a warmth within her that she hadn't felt in ages. The market began to wind down, the energy shifting as the night grew late. Evan took her hand again, their fingers entwined, a simple gesture that felt loaded with meaning. Let us take one last walk, he suggested, his voice low and inviting. Lead the way, she replied, her heart racing as they navigated through the stalls,